The Double Switch by Carole Neuok. Chapter 20. The aroma of bacon still filled the air inside the barn, even though the breakfast dishes had all been washed, dried, and put away. Casually dressed campers were gathering and chatting happily among each other. The tables had been folded against the wall, and the chairs had been arranged into rows, facing the small stage where the worship team was playing softly. A podium had been set up for the minister who was going to be preaching this morning. Coffee and sweets were lined up on the counter, and many people were taking steaming cups with them to their seats. Kelsey motioned for me to sit with her and her twin daughters near the back, so I joined them. Soon the music ended and the sermon began. It was a nice message on forgiveness. Then the unforgivable happened. Lenny walked into the barn with a beer in his hand. "Oh, here you all are," he said rather loudly. I could tell from the slur in his voice that it wasn't his first. Everyone turned to look at him, and I wanted to slide to the floor. I got up to escort him out of the barn when Kyle ran over to him, and they sat down near the back on the other side of the barn. Kyle sure did have a way with Lenny. For the first time ever, I had hope for Lenny's salvation. That hope was dashed moments later when Lenny loudly let loose with a four-letter word that I'm sure most of the people in this room had never heard before. He was brushing spilled beer off of his lap. Kyle calmly handed him some napkins. The minister continued as if nothing at all had happened. After church, Kyle, Lenny, and I went back to the farm for lunch. I said my goodbyes to Katie and Christy and thanked Sam for hosting us and allowing us all to meet. Kyle was already in his truck. Lenny was riding shotgun. Robbie was sitting in the back seat of the truck. "Hey, Auntie Lindsay, let's get the show on the road. I want to see a baby cow," he shouted out the window. "Okay, Robbie, we can go now," I said as I hopped into the back seat with him. We hit the road, and I wondered what was going to happen when we arrived at the farm. It was only 11 a.m., and Lenny was already drunk. Even though Dad hadn't had a drink since the accident, his manners weren't always the best. My other four brothers all had truckers' mouths, and not one of them were Christians, and their children were real pranksters. I felt a bit queasy and wondered if I really had to be there. After all, Kyle was going to meet his father and brothers, not me. The aroma of roasting corn and the pig on the spit filled the air as we arrived at the farm. Dad was heading to us with a large smile on his face. He held out his hand to Kyle. Kyle reached out and shook it. Then he pulled him into a hug. Robbie jumped out of the truck and headed to the barn. The calf was nursing in the outer pen. "A baby cow! Daddy, come and see the real live baby cow!" he shouted excitedly. "That's not a baby cow, it's a baby bull," my nephew corrected him. "It looks like a baby cow," Robbie said. "How come it's a baby bull?" "'Cause it's a boy," one of the younger boys said. "Want to see some baby ducks?" one of the other children asked. "Yes, I want to see baby ducks," Robbie said. "Dad, I'm going to see baby ducks, okay?" Kyle paused from his conversation with my brothers long enough to tell Robbie that it was okay. I followed along just in case. I really didn't trust my nieces and nephews with a 10-foot pole. They pranked each other so many times. I couldn't imagine what they may have planned for poor little Robbie. "Hey kids, don't go running off just now. It's time to get washed up for dinner," my sister-in-law shouted. "Aw, Mom, we just want to show him the baby ducks," one of the kids complained. "He can see the ducks later. This food is ready now," she said. "You go listen to your mother and get washed up right now," his father demanded. He gave them a stern look over the top of his glasses, and they headed to the house to wash up. Robbie followed after them. "Eat first, baby ducks later," he said as he followed the children into the house to wash his hands. Everyone filled their plates from the dishes that covered the food table. There were fruit salads, potato salads, fresh green beans from the garden, a large bowl of fresh carrots, also from the garden, and a salad made from lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers from the garden. There was also roasted corn, roasted pork, and a large container filled with Dad's homemade barbecue sauce. He was proud of that recipe he had come up with on his own. It was always a hit. We hadn't had a family picnic like this since Mom was still alive. A few of my aunts, uncles, and cousins had also come to meet Kyle and his family. Once we were all seated, Kyle offered to say grace, and we all held hands as he gave the blessing. It was the first time that had been done in my family. I almost expected them to protest or say that no blessing was needed. I am happy that everyone just followed along. Everything was delicious. My sisters-in-law had really outdone themselves. After lunch, I helped with the cleanup as the men took Robbie and Kyle on a tour of the farm. We had just finished up when I heard Robbie crying. Mommy, Robbie just fell in the mud. He just fell. I didn't push him down or anything," one of my nieces called out as she rushed into the house. I went outside, and poor Robbie was covered from head to toe in muck. "What happened, Robbie?" I asked as I took his filthy hand and tried to calm him down. "That big kid pushed me down," he said between sobs. I led him to the showers in the back of the barn. I helped him out of his dirty shirt, shoes, and jeans as my sisters-in-law gathered up the kids and gave them a good scolding. One of them appeared with clean clothes for him, and I handed him a towel. "You can take a shower in there. Then put these clean clothes on," I said, and he nodded as he sadly walked to the shower stall. When I stepped out into the barn, I saw that my nieces and nephews were mucking out stalls under the supervision of their mothers. "How is Robbie?" Kyle asked as he walked into the barn. "It's nothing a shower can't fix," I said. "I think that his pride is a little hurt." "What happened? I thought he was touring the farm with you." "He saw the kids playing and wanted to go with them." "I'm really sorry. I should have warned you. They can be some real pranksters," I said, "but don't worry. They are mucking out the stalls as we speak." "Ooh, that sounds like some harsh punishment," he said with a laugh. Robbie came out of the shower with the clothes on that I had given him. The pants were rather long, so I rolled them up for him and took the dirty things to the washer in the barn. "I have an extra change of clothes for him in the camper. I'll be right back." "Is that a horse? Can I ride the horse?" Robbie asked as he looked out in the field toward the horses that were grazing nearby. "Sure," I said. "I don't know," Kyle said as he handed Robbie the change of clothes. "Robbie's never ridden before." "We've got just the horse for him," our dad said. "Rosie is as gentle as they come. All of my other grandchildren got their start with her." "I've never even ridden myself," Kyle said. "Well, then it's about time that you both gave it a try," Dad said. After the kids were done mucking out the stall, the two older ones were instructed to saddle up Rosie and Sadie for Kyle and Robbie. I heard the wash machine buzzer, and before I could get to the barn, my oldest niece was instructed to put Robbie's clothes into the dryer. When the horses were ready, my oldest brother Scott lifted Robbie into the saddle. A huge grin came over his face as he patted Rosie's neck. Scott stayed close at his side as I slowly walked Rosie around. Kyle looked a bit apprehensive as he sat in the saddle and rode Sadie. She followed close behind Rosie. I watched as Robbie happily rode the horse, and I thought about what I wanted to do with the section of the farm that I hoped to inherit. The hard part was trying to convince Dad to give me the land without getting married first. After the ride, we headed back to the house. Robbie's things were all clean and folded when we returned to the house. Kyle and Robbie thanked everyone for a wonderful time, and each of my nieces and nephews apologized to him for getting him dirty. They promised they wouldn't hurt him again and asked him to come again. "Can we, Dad? Can we come again?" Robbie begged. Kyle nodded. The family lined up to wave goodbye when Robbie came over and hugged me. "Thank you for helping me get clean and ride a horse, especially for the horse," he said. Then Kyle leaned over and pulled me into his arms. I felt like this was where I belonged. Just great. I was having feelings for my brother, except that Kyle wasn't my brother. I looked at my brothers and realized that none of them were my brothers. We were not related, and once again I wondered where I belonged. Although Kelsey, Katie, and Christy were my biological sisters, we didn't grow up together. I loved them, but I still felt like an outsider around them, and I had always felt like an outsider around the people that I had grown up with. Now I understood why. Thank you for reading this chapter of my book, The Double Switch. I hope that you enjoyed it. If so, please click on the like button. It will also help you to mark the spot where you left off. When you come back to the book, just look for the last chapter that you liked, and you will know which chapter you read last. Please click on the subscribe button and the bell so that you can be informed each time a new chapter or story is uploaded. God bless. Carole Neuok.